There it is.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Rick with Spinal Network, and this is the next in our podcast series, the next podcast. And before I introduce our guest today, let me just give a little bit of a description of myself for those that may be visually impaired. And so my name is Rick. And I could sit there and say, oh, I'm in my mid-40s, but I am not in my mid-40s. I'm in my mid-60s, and that's even stretching that. And I'm wearing a cream-colored Spinal Network podcast t-shirt. I have glasses on. I shaved my head, so I do not have this afro that I always wanted in life. And I am a wheelchair user, 47 years plus post-injury. And that's it. The background, it's a white background with the spinal, it says Spinal Network, it says podcast series, and in between the L of spinal and the N of network, we have our branded orange squiggly. We've never really come up with a real name other than an orange squiggly. So but I guess that says it all. So that's me. So now I get the pleasure. It's a pleasure to introduce our guest today, and Amber Russell with Omeo. And we had a chance to connect, Amber, a few months ago, just before we did our June Adaptive Sports Recreation and Resource Fair. And then there was another event after that we had a chance to meet, and I was on your podcast.
Yes.
So which is exciting. And this is such an exciting company. And Amber and I just connected right from the get-go. So we have this very easygoing relationship, and that's what today's going to be. It's going to be this great conversation. So Amber, if you could introduce yourself and describe yourself.
Hi, my name is Amber. I am a mid-40s woman with curly brown hair that's about to my jaw, and I'm wearing gold dangly earrings and a white eyelet blouse underneath a blue chambray dress. I am sitting in my office at Omeo America, which I lovingly call the cave because it has been painted black by its previous resident. and I have never changed it. So I am sitting in my little cave, and it's a really lovely, homey little spot. To my right is our Omeo product, and to my left is some artwork for my kids, and that's it. That's all the decor that I have in this little space in my cave. I'm thrilled to be here with Rick. I enjoy talking to Rick very much. He's just an easy, effortless conversation, and we found that we had a lot to talk about. And we did not run out of topics. So I'm excited to see where today's goes.
So this is almost like part two.
Yeah, it is a little bit part two, isn't it?
So let's first of all, because there'll be many people, I'm sure, that are going to come on here and go, who or what is Omeo?
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with a little bit of background as to the company and kind of how it got to when it started and kind of how it got to here.
Okay, so Omeo is a really unique piece of technology. It is a self-balancing two-wheeled wheelchair alternative that allows you to go hands-free. It's a unique device in that we are what we call a wheelchair alternative because we are not a traditional chair option. It is a device that allows you to go off-road. There's two different kind of tire styles. There's an indoor tire that keeps you at a traditional 25-inch width, so that you can go through traditional doorways. And then we have our off-road kit, which has big fat knobby tires that can tear up sand and dirt and terrain and plow up trails and get into the grass. And so the you can swap between the two depending on the lifestyle that you have. It also has a 0-degree turn radius, so it's very popular in tight spaces because it allows you to navigate tight spaces. So it's not a traditional device, but it is a lot of fun. The other thing that makes us unique is that we do go up to 40 miles on a single charge. Which is pretty far for a powered chair device. And it also goes 12 miles per hour. So it's pretty fast. It's enough to blow your hair back for sure. I'm going to be honest. I have never, ever taken it 12 miles per hour. Yeah. I get a little spooked around 6, and it just feels really fast. I'm working my way up though. It's phenomenally fun to ride. It really is adaptable for a wide variety of abilities and needs. And it's maybe not the device for everyone, but Omeo's heart is that we want to connect everyone with the right device for them. So if it's not the Omeo, then we want to be a voice in the community that offers solutions and opportunities to connect with other businesses that can meet their needs, because our goal is to see everyone living the life that they want. And we want to see people get outside and moving more, because we believe in it. We believe that movement is essential to the human condition, and however we can facilitate that for people, we want to do that.
That sounds great. So Omeo's it's based out of New Zealand, is that correct? Or that's where that's
where it originated.
Yeah.
So the designer and inventor of it is from New Zealand. His name is Kevin Haskell. And it's my understanding that the device was originally designed as kind of a thing for a friend. He wanted to provide them an opportunity, his friend Marcus, an opportunity to get back to some of the things that he really enjoyed, like archery and things like that. In the process, he won several design awards, and it actually ended up going to market. So then probably around maybe 2018, I believe. And so I joined the company in 2022. So some of my background might be sketchy. I'm summarizing here, but they did a little tour of the US to see if there was interest in the United States to bring it here. And it was through those connections that in early 2022, our parent company first became aware of the Omeo. And they started saying, I think there's a way that we could help make this a little bit broader reach in the United States. And so that's when we became involved with it. As a background, our parent company, which is AGM Container, we got our start in the defense system, or the defense industry. We build products, moisture control valves, desiccators, things like that. You'll find us everywhere from the space station to NASA products to pretty much any place that you want to control the amount of moisture that is involved. So with that, we have a lot of experience and a high standard of production because of our affiliation with the defense industry. About 30 years ago, in an interest of diversifying and just broadening our horizons, we began designing, manufacturing, and implementing the sale of a device called the Ascension wheelchair lifts. And so we have created pretty much the gold standard of non-pit operating Ascension wheelchair lifts. So these are things that will go into schools, historical buildings, anywhere that typically they are used to bring buildings up to code. However, there are architects and designers who see the beauty of our product. They are really pretty as a means to create grid user experiences and include them in universal design. So as such, we got involved with several different organizations to try and understand the needs of our end user, because we recognize that we're working with contractors and architects, and we wanted to understand what actual chair users were encountering. And so as a part of that process of understanding their needs and trying to design products that really met them, we got involved with adaptive sports. And it was through that connection of adaptive sports that we met the Spinal Network. And that's kind of the summary of where it all kind of meshed together. But we definitely have found a bit of a niche in the adaptive sports community from the standpoint of where our heart likes, enjoys serving. And that is just, there's something that is pure joy in seeing people experience new things. And adaptive sports just provides such a broad spectrum of movement opportunities and just from solo sports related activities to group activities, and there's just a joy in watching people kind of discover their thing. So it's become a thing that we really love partnering with.
And that's kind of why when we decided we were going to put on an adaptive sports day, we decided, adaptive sports, there's various levels, of course. You get the serious athlete. I don't say serious. You get the athlete whose goal it is to make the Paralympic team, and then you get the athlete who wants to go out and maybe just go out with the family or friends and play something. So that's why we said, adaptive sports recreation, and then the resource fair part of that, which we had 23 resource vendors this past time. And I get a chance as I'm wandering around and talking to people. I also get a chance to see, the resource booths and when there's unique equipment such as the Omeo product. And so I had a chance to watch as, people, for the first time got into something that was so different.
Yeah.
And, got into it and, going through the grass and over the dirt. And we, since we were right there on Mission Beach, you had the beach sand and it was just great to see, people jump into that and realize, hey, I'm not necessarily stuck, to a hard surface, to pavement or like that. So
yeah, I would say the beach is by far the biggest draw people have to the Omeo. Like when we talk to users about their favorite Omeo adventure, the answer is almost always, oh, going to the beach.
yeah.
And so it's enjoyable because I think that as somebody who is not disabled myself, working in this industry has allowed me to really open my eyes to how many things can be a difficult experience. Unless, for me, I'd never thought about the fact that the joy of going to the beach wasn't always joyful for people. Because, and so it has been a very good exercise for me to really view the world through a different pair of eyes. And one of those things was understanding that the beach is something that is enjoyable and it should be made accessible. There are so many things that can be done to make the beach more accessible. You don't need a full beach access chair with the right tools. But it is really fun to see people experience something that has been denied to them for a while and get to be a part of that joy. There's just nothing like that smile of seeing somebody just blast through the surf and see the sand spray behind them and recognize that that's something I get to do. And I've sort of taken advantage of it without realizing it.
Yeah. You said you joined with Omeo in 2022.
Yes.
Where were you before? What is your
What is my background? So I have a bit of a unique history, but for the last 15 years, I ran my own business, working as essentially a content creator, but predominantly in the wedding industry. So I photographed weddings. I guess technically I still do. I just only do a handful a year now, something to keep my toes wet. But I also wrote websites. So I'd worked as a copywriter for many years. My history is way back 20 years ago in college. I worked for nonprofits. And so I did nonprofit grant writing and worked in nonprofit development.
Oh my goodness
And
gracious.
and so it was a natural transition to working for small businesses, helping them hone their messaging and tell the right stories to spread their brand awareness. And that's how I became affiliated with Omeo, as they hired me to write their website for the Omeo America, the myomeo.com. And through that, at the end of it, they were like, hey, so do you want to join the marketing team? And I said, yes, I do. I love this product. I love the people. And as a side, like, it's kind of a funny side note, but as I got started, I was 3 days into the job. I had fired off a ton of emails to all the different Omeo communities saying, hey, my name is Amber. I'm collecting stories for the website. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to schedule time. On day 3 of my start, I fell and had a complete avulsion of my hamstring, which I'm told is reserved for very elite athletes, and then 40-year-old mothers who do the splits for the first time. And so in that, I had emergency surgery, and I had 6 weeks of complete and utter traction. I was from the chest down, I was in braces that did not allow me to move. He kind of rolled me like a log to get me to get me out of bed for anything. And it was, what struck me was this group of people that I had sent out emails to. I was having to now say, I'm so sorry, I have to reschedule our calls. And I started getting flowers in the mail and phone calls and cards, people checking in to make sure I was okay. And I thought, what kind of community is this? That they're reaching out to this new girl and making sure that I'm okay. It was really, and that was what sold me. Whenever they came and said, do you want to join our team full time? I was like, yeah, I want more of that in my life. I want more of this interaction with a group of people that care about like little old me. And it has just been a blessing ever since. And there's something unique about the Omeo community. There is this unifying desire to go further, and it's very communal. Omeo New Zealand has done a very good job of fostering a community of people that genuinely care about each other. And in our user communities, you'll see people weighing in with ideas and supports and coming up with innovative ideas to improve their Omeo experiences. And there's just this constant sharing and flow of communication. And I thought that was something I didn't experience in the wedding industry, to be honest.
Yeah.
People are much more, that's my intellectual property. That's my thing. That's my client. And so I was suddenly thrust into this community of people that treated each other like community. And I thought, I want more of this. It was such a positive experience that it was real easy to say, yeah, I'm going to do that.
And
so that's my background.
And we have this networking group, which I had talked to you about, MCAP, which is Mobility Community Access Partners. And, it didn't take long of us connecting, where I just, sometimes you just know that it's a good fit. So I talked to you about that, and you agreed, and you are now one of the partners.
Well, and it has honestly been a huge blessing, because when we threw our free resource fair, were the people that came along and said yes, and they were the ones, all of those different individuals are the ones bringing support to us to make that successful. And I was just astounded at again, it's like community aspect of supporting one another. And I feel like maybe I'm just naive, maybe it's not having worked in, but I feel like Omeo has a different approach to corporate America than what I had assumed was corporate
Yeah.
America.
Like,
And I
yeah.
feel like MCAP has that same heartbeat
Mhm.
of, you know, everybody's doing their own thing, but they're doing it together.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
has just been a tremendous blessing to be
Yeah.
connected.
It's, you know, and it seems every time that I toss out another sometimes harebrained idea, I get, you know, some of the partners going, hey, that'd be great. Yeah, I'd like to be a part of that. You know, all of a sudden we're thinking, hey, you know what, let's throw a pickleball / boccia tournament.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm thinking, where did that come from? But yet then I'm getting people going, you know what, sounds like a great idea. I'm in. So September 30th, we're going to have the
Oh, that would be so fun.
pickleball, bocce ball tournament down in Park de la Cruz in
And
the,
that's a fundraiser for Spinal Network.
it's actually a free, it's not, it's a free event.
It's just a
Well,
hangout.
I take that back.
Okay.
It's not a free event. The participants will pay $10
Okay.
each to play. And honestly, the reason being is sometimes when you do a free event, it's easy for someone to maybe get up in the morning and go, nah, you know, I don't think I want to go.
Right.
It's cloudy out, it's whatever. Where if you pay, and sometimes even as little as $10,
Yeah.
it's that impetus to leave the house and go
Yeah.
there
There's
and
an emotional
participate. So,
investment.
and really honestly, the money is just going to go to pay for the box lunches that are coming in and any other costs. And if there's any money left over, one of the co-sponsor, which is the city of San Diego, their therapeutic recreation services,
Yeah.
will go, anything left over will go to their programs. So it will still stay within the community.
Yeah.
You know, not only the San Diego community, but the disability community. So, and there'll be a resource fair component to that. And we've already talked, you're going to be there.
Yes.
And so, you know, it's just, you know, we do have a fundraiser, and it's actually during the month of September, we're doing this Spinal Network virtual 30-day challenge where, you know, people sign up to do a 5K or a 10K or a marathon or fitness or book reading, or there's a custom one where you just design your own. You self-govern, there's no one looking over your shoulder going, oh, did you do your 5K? You know, it's
I'm going to do 30 days of yoga. That's my plan, is every day, 15 minutes or more, just stretching and you know, being present.
And
that's what I'm signing up for.
and that's our fundraiser. I mean, you know, we really we try not to do too many things where there's a cost.
Yeah.
You know, or having to go to the well too many times looking for money. So, you know, and that's, we're doing a better job of that. So I'm happy. But that's going to be, so that'll be, and the reason we picked September is because that's also the National Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month.
Right.
So it, you know, everything's connected, and it kind of, you know, it finishes off with this tournament that's going to be going on. So, but anyway, that was the side note. That was a big side note. So,
but I like it.
so let's, you know, because people are still trying to conceptualize. So what is this product? So we're going to, let's take a little look here. And can you see this?
Is off of the, yeah, I can.
Okay, good.
This is off of the Omeo New Zealand website. So I think you're actually seeing footage from New Zealand.
Okay.
Which is gorgeous, right?
But people get a chance to see it. I mean, you know, the different surfaces. And look, it's a beach. You know, there was one towing the, I'm not sure if it was maybe a kayak
Yeah.
and on the trailer and back, towing that,
Yeah.
going over different surfaces, going on a hard surface,
Mhm.
not having to, push on a wheel or operate a joystick.
Yeah.
And I know that, okay, it's not for everybody,
Mhm.
and we know that, but there isn't a chair on the market that is for everybody.
Right.
So that's why there's all the different types of chairs. But this is it's a extremely unique product. It's got a very small footprint. People are afraid they're going to fall out the back, and well, you get a back on you can have a back on the chair.
Yeah.
And
It's unique in that you will lean back, but it actually will not tip you all the way back over because it self-balances. So even if you're going at an incline, what will happen is if you don't commit to that incline, the chair will actually just turn and return back down the incline. So it doesn't like flip you over or, cause you to crash. It is a very intuitive device. And the cool part about it is because of the way you're seated in it, we call it lean steering or, seat steering mode is the official term, but you really are leaning your body left and right. And so it mimics natural movement. And so with some practice, it becomes a very intuitive experience where you're just kind of the way you feel naturally inclined to move, the chair moves with you. And so it's been fun. We know users who go out and dance with it, and they just get out on a dance floor and let the music move, and they move in time with music. We have a jazz musician. He's on YouTube, Tommy Forney, really extraordinary musician. And one of my favorite videos is when he just lifts the legs up and lets himself play and lets his body move as he plays. And it just becomes this very beautiful dance that's included as he plays. And it's just the way you would naturally play. And it's neat to see that responsive movement partnered with it. And then, at the same time, you'll see people who just take it to run with their kids and to chase their children. And I think that was one of the more powerful things that was said to me was this has introduced a level of play into my relationship with my children that never existed before. And again, those things that I've taken for granted, but just what a beautiful gift that, so our friend Ryan, the one who said that to me about introducing this level of play, he's like, my kids get out on skateboards and they'll catch on to the back of the chair and I zip as fast as I can and they slingshot off and keep going. And so it's just it's a neat thing to be able to interact with your kids in those ways and to meet them doing things that they enjoy doing.
So there are a number of options and accessories and things like that. And I'm sure that if we had our audience watching right at this second and sending in questions, we know that one of those questions would be, does insurance pay for it? And if not, just approximately how much is it?
Okay. So right now, insurance does not. However, there have been some supplemental programs such as Workman's Comp has provided funding for it because of the fact that it does allow people to enter back into a level of living and job, connection that they wouldn't be able to do in a traditional chair. But for right now, we are not insurance approved. The cost is $29,950 plus whatever applicable state taxes. We do have a financing program. It was actually, so this is, you guys are getting a little proprietary information. It is official, but it has not gone live on our site yet, but we do have a financing option. It is $3,000 down, so 10% down and 5-year term. Payments are roughly $600 a month. We have a fixed interest rate, so you won't get tagged by raising interest. It worked really hard to find an interest rate that was fair and consistent with that of mainstream car loans, because we recognize the price to be a similar price point. And then the other thing that we wanted with it was an opportunity for a buyback program, so that if somebody's condition worsened or progressed, that there would be an opportunity to take care of them and not straddle with payments that would be potentially difficult to maintain. So there were several components that went into making this a thing. So that's where we're at with those options, and we're really excited about that.
That sounds like a great thing. And I mean, I worked in the wheelchair industry for over 30 years. So, when you say 29.9, I mean, that's where that's not out of the ballpark. I mean, it's I mean, I oftentimes did power chairs, that had specialty features to allow somebody their independence, that where the chair was $30,000. So
It's
I
will say
a lot of it.
Go ahead.
I would say a lot of it for people that often wonder about the cost of medical equipment. Just having again worked on the manufacturing side with Colors Wheelchair. One thing that goes on is, first of all, the numbers aren't there. It's not as if like here's a bike company and they're selling their bike for this much. And why? Well, they're selling their bike for this much because they're selling 30,000 bikes a year or whatever, so that cost and their liability, their product liability insurance is far less than the wheelchair industry. So number one, you don't have the numbers to spread that cost over, and your overhead is more because of the product liability insurance. So just for those folks listening who have questioned that in the past, those are two major factors that drive up that. And now also is you have the wheelchair manufacturer, you have the dealer, you have the funding source, and you have the end user. So before it gets to the end user, you've got three levels in between, and everybody wants, the insurance company doesn't want to pay this much. The dealer needs to make this much. Manufacturers trying to cover their overhead and make a little bit of money. So, there's just a lot of things that are unique to the wheelchair or that medical side of the industry. So anyway.
And I think one of the things we've encountered as we've investigated it, it's not something that we've discredited, right? We have looked into whether or not, because it would mean more accessibility to the product. But the problem with insurance is that quite often changes would need to be made to the product that would then change its functionality as a whole. And we don't want the Omeo to lose its Omeo-ness. That is a very technical term, by the way.
Yes.
That Omeo-ness. And then the other thing is that insurance is a huge benefit, but it is actually not available to all. And so that involvement of insurance actually will shift and lock pricing at a certain point, which then means that the control that we have over, shifting and changing margins and making it more accessible at a price point would be locked in. So it's not that it's something we won't do in the future. It's just that for right now, what makes sense for us is to make sure that the product continues to be what we want it to be. And at a price point that, we'd love for it to be lower, but at a price point that we don't feel embarrassed having it at, because we know the value of and the quality of the product. And that price point, I should also include 2 days of training with a trainer one-on-one in your home. And so with that, we are sending somebody to make sure, because it is a powerful device. And it's unique. And so it's not something that we want you to just take out of the crate and go. We want to provide a great experience with it. So So that price point does include some proper training and taking you through the nuances of how to use it safely,
Mhm.
have the most fun with it,
Yeah.
as well as it's fully customized to your needs at that price point as well. And we don't charge shipping. That's also included. So there's a few things that make that part of the overall price. And
Mhm.
we don't, and it just starts getting messy when you start nickel and diming, like, oh, and then this is this service and this is this service.
Mhm.
We want to create a great service experience from start to finish. And so that's why one's that price. So
And,
that's just as a side note as to some of the things that we have tried to do to make sure that price point is meeting the needs of the people that are using it.
and if somebody really wants it, they're going to find a way to get it.
Mhm.
And now they have, here's another option with your finance program. So, I mean, I got a call yesterday. My son called and he goes, what are you doing? He said, I'm just going to work you through some things. And he goes, well, do you have some time? And I said, for what? He goes, well, I want to go down and look at this truck. He's been talking about getting a truck for the last couple of years. So I said, sure, I'll go with you. So we went to the dealer and he was going to trade his car in. And well, this wasn't just your typical truck, it was a Ram 1500 Laredo or Laramie um, with that Laramie package in it, which so it was raised up and had this custom hood on it, and then the all the black accents on the and it's one of those things though, and it was not a cheap, and it was used. It was 2 years old with 21,000 miles on it. But however, it's one of those things, same thing.
Mhm.
I really want that.
Yeah.
So he figured out how he was going to get it.
Yep.
He goes, like, I've got this much money here. I've got my car, and then I'll take it for more months now to get the price down, knowing that in 6 months or a year I can refi it. But he had all that set, and it was that same mentality of, I really want that, so I'm going to figure a way to get it. And it's
Well,
the same with folks that want Omeo. They will figure a way.
and there are some great sources out there. I know for the San Diego area, there's Rally for Riley that will help fundraise for specific adaptive
Mhm.
equipment that will change your life. There's Let Hope Live, which is a really neat organization, similar to like a GoFundMe, but specific to medical devices, and they will
Mhm.
help you run an entire campaign on how to crowdsource. And then there's just some great crowdsourcing. I think the community as a whole has a better handle on how to go about crowdsourcing for things as
Mhm.
well. But we've had a couple users that have raised the money in 2 days. And a lot of that is because, people, I do think that our community is an untapped resource in a lot of ways. And I also recognize that asking for help on a regular basis feels yucky,
Yeah.
right? There's no
Yeah.
other way to describe it. So
Yeah.
I get being quiet and not asking for help. But I do think that as a whole, community really does love to rally around seeing somebody thrive.
Mhm.
And and we see it time and time again when users put their request out there and their network goes, oh, I can put in, $50, I can put in $100.
Mhm.
And then the next thing you know, it's created a movement and everybody feels good about providing this opportunity.
Mhm.
And so I know that there's ways to go about doing it that feel less uncomfortable
Yucky.
than others.
Less
And
yucky. Yeah.
yeah, less yucky.
Yeah.
And it is hard because I do recognize that there are costs that unless you are disabled, you will never ever understand those reoccurring costs. I
Mhm.
mean, most of us, like me, I went to physical therapy for 6 weeks and then I was done. But for many people, physical therapy is a lifelong financial commitment to continued improvement. And if we don't have that awareness of what those kind of costs are. And
Mhm.
then there's the costs of maintaining a specialized vehicle and, home modifications.
Yeah.
And as conditions progress, frequently there's additional modifications. So it's not like it's a one-time ask to say, hey, I need to renovate a space. I mean, it could be like, okay, well, that was great for 5 years ago, but now I need new modifications. So there's these constant hidden costs that I don't think that the world is aware of. And so I get that when when you feel like you're constantly saying, hey, I have another need, that just feels hard and it doesn't feel good. And I know that. And that's one of the ways that Omeo wants to go further and help figure out ways so that you're not alone in those requests.
Yeah.
And that comes in with supporting MCAP and, putting on adaptive fairs that connect resources in areas. What we did in San Diego, we would like to do on a national level, going into a community, building partnerships that already exist, that are individually doing work, but just bring them together so we have like a collective whole. And we want to foster these free events to the community so that they can get connected with people that can. And so then the ask is no longer, will you help me again? It's, hey, there's this whole group of people offering help and support that want to do this. This is the passion. This is the focus. And so that's one of the things that Omeo wants to do, is facilitate those conversations, not to sell an Omeo, but to see the community go further and to thrive, as a whole.
Our we had changed our focus about a year and a half ago or so. And we started this community integration, participation, and independence project. And our adaptive sports recreation and resource fair was a big part of it. That was kind of the hub that we surrounded, and it's getting people back into their communities, to integrate back into their communities and to participate with their communities. And so when you have a need like this, oftentimes somebody within your community network, they hear about this, and next you've got neighbors and friends and the people from the coffee shop or the whatever, all of a sudden they're joining in to, hey, let's do a fundraiser and let's raise the money so so this person can get this and realize this newfound independence.
What I do think has happened over the last 3 years, I feel like COVID really narrowed people's focus. It internalized a lot of focus too. So we kind of lost some of that global approach that I think we'd seen leading up to 2020. There was a lot more of a global push. And then 2020 hit and everybody was just survival mode, right? Like it was just sheer survival mode. And then I think the world opened up a little again. 2021, 2022, they're building years. 2023, I think, is the year that we need to start pushing for more change. And I recognize that there was sort of like, I think there was great community push for a long time, but we just have to reestablish those connections because we became so internally focused just as a world. It was survival mode. And it is hard to shift out of survival mode and back into what community feels like. But I see it in all kinds of different areas. Gatherings at everything are smaller. And I do think that there was some benefits that came out of COVID. I think we recognize that we don't have to be overcommitted to a lot of different things. It is okay to pull back. It is okay to protect ourselves and take care of our own emotional needs. But I think the other thing that we need, and it was shown because you could see the spike in mental health issues, we need community. And community is where we not just grow emotionally and physically, but it's where we grow our needs. And so I'm hoping that we'll see a huge shift in 2024. I've already seen a growth. I've seen that move back towards it. But I think it was hard to get. We were at a slow start. It took us a while to find where we exist now in this new space of, honoring some boundaries and not overcommitting, but still showing up as a community. And it's I'm hopeful, but I do think it's one of the things that nonprofits and really just the world has struggled with, was figuring out how we work as a community. But I think that there's this opportunity now. People
Yeah.
are open to it, and we're looking, and I think that that's where we start to build relationships and we build that support system again. Is really letting the community know that we're here and
Mhm.
want to foster and grow it. And I saw it at INCAP, like just the growth of that event. In my head, it was a little event until I was there.
Yeah.
And then you're there and you
Mhm.
see,
Yeah.
and you think, and then I just started dreaming. I was like, what would this look like in Denver? What would
Mhm.
this look like in Houston, Texas? Like, it just, you start thinking about what this would look like on a national level,
Mhm.
eventually a global level. And I think that there is this opportunity to really get people excited about supporting across and the spinal care industry or industry, that's not the right word, but community,
Mhm.
I guess. I feel like that's one of the more underfunded
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
thing, because of the fact that, I mean, there's just sort of this acceptance that, oh, we can't, big pharma's not coming in to like support financially because there's not a lot to offer from a medicinal purpose.
Yeah.
And so therefore there's not the support that maybe some other injuries receive from fundraising and things like that. There's,
Mhm.
I think about, and we're involved in several different organizations, and you can see which ones are well funded from outside sources because of the benefits that come to it.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, I get really excited about coming alongside and supporting things like Spinal Network, nonprofit clinics that work with spinal cord injuries, because you recognize that doctors aren't offering, continued care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once you get to
Yeah.
this functional space, they're like, okay, but it's more than just function, it's thriving.
Yeah.
And we got to see, when we worked with VIP Neuro,
Mhm.
we got introduced to a wide variety of stories. And I met a young woman who was injured at the age of 5 for 14 years, has lived with as a quad with very little upper body movement from the neck down. But since she started working with VIP Neuro, which is this nonprofit clinic that tries things that weren't medically approved,
Mhm.
right? That weren't prescribed as treatment, but were, I shouldn't say medically approved, that's not the right word, but they weren't prescribed
Yeah.
treatment.
Yeah.
They did new and developing techniques that maybe insurance wasn't interested in covering. And
Mhm.
I watched a young woman brush hair out of her face. How powerful is that?
Mhm.
How powerful is it to be able to brush your own hair out of your face? Like,
Yeah.
those are small incremental movements that just bring freedom. That's independence.
Yeah.
And that's where I get excited about, I get real passionate about it,
Yeah.
because we need to be facilitating those kind of experiences and those opportunities for people that aren't in an industry that is considered to be, something that's worthwhile
Mhm.
from a medicinal perspective.
Right.
Because functional independence, that's
Yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah.
huge. That's
Yeah.
huge. You can't put a dollar amount on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't
Mhm.
know. I get excited
Mhm.
about the fact that we got to partner with VIP on that. I was introduced now to, I honestly didn't realize that there were as many as there are out
Mhm.
there that are working towards it, but they're small. And I want people to know about them
Mhm.
because they do such powerful, incredible work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's, there was another, I've been following his story now from VIP, a little guy that was basically told, well, there's nothing we can do. And I'm watching huge change. I mean, I'm watching him swallow. He was told he could never swallow, and he's swallowing, and he's moving his limbs, and he's acknowledging things. And that is since I met him in May. And so just in this 8-9 week window, I've gotten to watch daily growth, because his mom is real good about documenting it. And and it's exciting, because that is coming from a clinic that has come and said, let's see what we can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see what we can do. And that is that's powerful.
Yeah.
I get excited about it. And that's what I hope that Omeo can do too, is just say, well, let's see what we can do. Like what kind of, and I know that's where innovation happens, right? Is when you have people that say, okay, so I know that's not what's been done,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
let's see what we
yeah,
can do.
we do.
And I think that's what Kevin did when he created the Omeo.
Yeah,
Okay, that's hasn't been done, but what can we do? And it's
and
exciting to be a part of it.
and that seems like a perfect jumping off point. You
Yeah.
know, what can Omeo do?
Well,
There it is. That's a great
what can
question to
Omeo
pose.
do? I think right now, because we are new to the US and we are working on building out a network of relationships with people so that I feel like we're in this learning phase. We
Mhm,
want to know what the needs are,
mhm,
we don't want to assume that we have answers. We have a few ideas about how to approach some mobility solutions,
mhm,
but we know that there is more. And so, we've kind of just been inviting conversation in a lot of ways of saying, what are areas that you need support? What are ways that we can contribute? The reality is we're a small little company, but we've had good success in our areas of industry.
mhm,
But we're still, if we're 120 people deep, I would be surprised. And that would include everybody from HR, to production team
mhm,
members. It's Omeo itself is 7 people. And that includes the people who are doing the building and the engineering, and
yeah,
me
yeah.
and our trainer. So we're small.
Mhm,
And in that, the beautiful thing is we're small, but we want to grow. And so we're going to grow by asking, what do you need?
yeah,
Because we don't have all the answers. And we can't always give an answer either. Like what somebody needs may not be something we can provide. But our hope is that as we build these relationships, we can say, hey, you know what? That's not something we can do, but I do know somebody who can. And and those are conversations I've had. I've had inquiries and I've had phone calls with people. And as I talked with them, I recognized that Omeo is not going to be a product that would best suit their needs at this moment.
mhm,
I do know, because of all of my research, products that are, and I have no problem saying, I want to connect you with our friends at New Tech because they carry these products and I think that they can take care of you. Or I want to connect you with Mobility City because
mhm.
they have been, they are wise people in the area. So I think, what can we do? We don't know yet.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
want to know what you need so that we can try and do that. And so I think the thing that we can do is we can be curious and we can ask questions and we can be open to to feedback. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes feedback sucks,
oh,
right?
yeah,
Like,
oh, yeah,
it's like a gut
oh,
punch
yeah.
because you
Mhm,
recognize that there's so many emotions and there's so many feelings involved in things. And it's hard to remember that we're like humans, like we're real life people, and there's not many of us, and we're trying to do big things. But at the same time, to just sit and be open and to hear that feedback and to say, that is a terrible experience. I don't know if I can fix it. And being okay with the fact that I can just hear that experience
yeah, yeah,
and not try and fix it, not offer a solution, but just listen and put it away as one of the things that we need to be striving to do better in. And so, yeah, I guess we can be curious and
yeah.
we say we want to support you and we can promote what other people are doing. I just believe that there is nothing bad that can come from connecting people with the right resources. I have to believe that that is the best way to serve the community.
And as the folks that follow us, when you look and see this podcast and you look at the description, I will have the website for Omeo on there so that you can simply click and go to the website and see more, see additional videos and gather more information. And
And if you
Amber,
send an email through the website, it
there
goes
you
to me.
go.
This is the face that is responding to you.
There you go.
And I love the conversations that I get to have. So throw your questions at me, throw your ideas at me. They actually do go someplace. They don't go out into the middle of nowhere.
And just,
And they are collected, they are treasured, and I will respond.
okay.
So
Amber, it's been great.
thank you, Rick. I've
and-
loved talking with
and
you.
if you could hang in there for a second after I click off.
Absolutely.
So thank you, everybody who maybe this is your first Spinal Network podcast. Maybe this is your 15th Spinal Network podcast, and anywhere in between. And we certainly appreciate your supporting us and following us. And if you have suggestions about future podcasts, my email will also be in the description, and feel free. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.